like Breanna, Stewart, and Sabrina Ionescu has broken their silence about this massacre their team just had.
There are losses, and then there are public executions on national television. What happened to the New York Liberty wasn't just a bad night. It was a basketball massacre. The defending champions, a team that started their season 9-0, were humiliated on their home floor. And the worst part? They knew exactly who did it. Because after getting dismantled by Caitlin Clark, Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart stepped up to the mic. And instead of blaming refs or injuries or just one of those nights, they did something that left the entire WNBA stunned. They praised her, and not in that fake, polite way. They were honest, gracious, almost in awe. This wasn't just a win for Clark, it was a seismic moment for the league.
The performance we saw from Caitlin Clark today against a team that started off the season 9-0, a team that is the defending champions, might have been the greatest women's basketball performance we have ever seen. That might have been the greatest showing from a WNBA player we have ever witnessed. That was spectacular. The shots she hit in this game, y'all, were something like I've never seen any other women basketball player ever come close to hitting. There are NBA superstars out there that I have not seen have a game with that.
From the outside, this game looked like a mismatch. The New York Liberty weren't just good, they were rolling. Undefeated at 9-0, defending champs, stacked roster, elite chemistry. Every analyst, every stat line, every betting site had them as the clear favorite. On the other side, the Indiana Fever, a team limping through the season, struggling with rhythm, and missing their biggest weapon, Caitlin Clark. She'd been out with an injury for 5 straight games. No rhythm, no warm-up, no time to gel. This game wasn't supposed to be about her. It was supposed to be a showcase for the Liberty, a reminder that they were still the top dogs. Instead, they got ambushed. The Liberty came in confident, maybe too confident. They thought they'd see a rusty rookie limping back into action. But from the very first possession, the energy was different. Clark wasn't tentative. She wasn't cautious. She attacked. Pull-up jumper, assist off a skip pass, step back 3 from the logo, and that was just the first 5 minutes. Suddenly, the Liberty weren't controlling the game anymore. They were reacting, scrambling, chasing ghosts. You could feel it in the crowd. They came expecting dominance. Instead, they got disbelief. By halftime, the narrative had flipped. The Liberty weren't imposing their will. They were trying to survive. Caitlin Clark wasn't playing like someone coming off an injury. She was playing like someone on a mission to remind the world exactly who she is. And maybe more importantly, to prove she never left. The Liberty didn't just underestimate the Fever. They underestimated Clark's hunger. Because what they faced on that court wasn't just a returning player. It was a storm. And they never saw it coming.
Like we go on runs, they do as well. They're a great team. So I don't think it's defeating. I think obviously we know what a great shooter she is, and I think we just gave her too many easy ones. Obviously, she has great range, and her ability to get her shot off is really impressive, especially with missing some games. And so obviously on a personal level, I'm really happy to see her back out on the court, healthy, feeling good, because obviously it's important for them, but
it started with a quiet pull-up jumper from the wing. Smooth, confident, no hesitation. Then came the deep 3 from way beyond the arc. Swish, nothing but net. And just like that, you knew this wasn't just a good game. This wasn't just a comeback. This was a statement. Caitlin Clark wasn't back to shake off rust. She came back like she never left. And she didn't just play well, she dominated. By the time the final buzzer sounded, 32 points, 7 assists, 5 threes, and enough jaw-dropping moments to fill an entire season highlight reel. But the numbers only tell part of the story, because the way she did it was unlike anything we've seen in the WNBA in years. We've seen big scorers, we've seen flashy rookies, but what Clark did that night, it felt like watching a cheat code come to life. Her shot selection was outrageous. Step backs, off-balance floaters, heat check logo bombs, and she made them look easy. Every time New York adjusted, she adapted. Double team, no problem. She found the open shooter. Full court press, she broke it and still got the bucket. Switch a big onto her, she danced around them like a street ball veteran. It was clinical, it was surgical, it was ruthless. And it wasn't just offense. Clark dictated tempo. She controlled the floor. She read defenses 2 plays ahead. When she passed the ball, she wasn't just moving it. She was manipulating the defense, bending the entire structure of New York's scheme. Her court vision, elite. Her timing, perfect. Her poise, unshakable. You wouldn't know this was her first game back. You'd think she'd been playing playoff basketball for a decade. And here's what made it all so shocking. She wasn't celebrating. She wasn't showboating. She wasn't even smiling that much. She was focused, locked in, laser sharp, deadly calm. That kind of composure doesn't come from hype. It comes from hours in the gym. gym, years of pressure, and a chip on her shoulder so big it might as well be a boulder. The Liberty didn't lose because they played poorly. They lost because Caitlin Clark reached a level they simply couldn't match, a level we may be witnessing for the first time, but one she's been preparing for her whole life. Everyone braced for the post-game interviews. The Liberty had just been blown off their own court, defending champions embarrassed, and the rookie they were supposed to contain, she looked untouchable. So when Sabrina Ionescu stepped up to the mic, people expected damage control, something about missed rotations, fatigue, maybe a quick nod to Clark before pivoting back to team focus. But instead, she told the truth. "She's a great shooter," Sabrina said straight-faced, "and we gave her too many easy ones." Just like that. No excuses, no sugarcoating, no denial. She gave Clark the respect she earned. And then she added something deeper. Her range is impressive, the way she gets her shot off, even after missing games. It's crazy. Think about that for a second. This isn't coming from a bench player. This is Sabrina Ionescu, one of the best shooters the league has ever seen, and she's calling Clark's shot-making elite. She didn't sound defeated, she sounded impressed. Then came the part that really caught people off guard. "I'm just happy to see her back, healthy, feeling good." That's not something you say about someone who just cooked you for 30-plus points. That's not fake sportsmanship. That's admiration. That's respect. Personal. Real. Because deep down, Sabrina knows you don't see performances like that every day. And when you do, you salute it. But it didn't stop there. Next came Breanna Stewart, one of the most decorated players in WNBA history. Multiple-time MVP. Olympic gold medalist, champion. She's been around the block. She could have said anything. Could have blamed a cold shooting night. Could have redirected the conversation. Instead, she smiled. During the game, when Clark buried a step-back three from way beyond the arc, Stewart didn't throw up her hands. She didn't yell at a teammate. She smiled. A slow, honest, "Yep, that's real" kind of smile. Because she knew. She'd just witnessed something special. Later, Stewart echoed what Ionescu said, but from a different angle. "We had defensive breakdowns. They punished us. She made plays. We didn't." Again, no excuses, just facts. And even more telling, they both used one word over and over: execution. They didn't talk about luck or one hot quarter. They talked about how Indiana executed because Clark led them. This wasn't about fake humility. This was two stars, two rivals, admitting they got outplayed, not by a better team, by a better player. And in sports, that kind of honesty is rare because in that moment, under the lights, in front of cameras, they didn't protect their pride. They gave credit where it was due. When the defending champs praised the player who just embarrassed them, you know the league is changing, and the message couldn't be clearer. Caitlin Clark didn't just beat them. She earned their respect. In sports, respect is everything, but it's not handed out for free. Not in press conferences, not in locker rooms, and definitely not after a loss. So when two of the WNBA's biggest stars step forward after getting cooked and willingly give praise to the very player who lit them up, you better believe there's more going on than just sportsmanship. Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart didn't just tip their hats. They acknowledged something much deeper. Caitlin Clark isn't just good. She's already a problem. That kind of open praise, it's rare because professional athletes, especially champions, protect their status. They guard the throne. But in that moment, they opened the door. And what walked through was a 22-year-old rookie with a jump shot and a chip on her shoulder. Let's be clear. These women aren't just respected WNBA players. They are faces of the league. Ionescu is a franchise cornerstone. Stewart is a multi-time MVP. Both of them are Olympic medalists. Both of them are used to being the best player on the floor. And yet, they stood there voluntarily and said, "She was better than us tonight." That's not PR. That's not strategy. That's truth. And in a league that's been quietly grappling with how to welcome the Caitlin Clark tidal wave, this was the moment everything shifted. See, the media has been itching for a rivalry, trying to paint a picture of tension, of old guard versus new, of jealousy, drama, ego. But this game and these reactions, they shattered all of that. This wasn't a torch being passed. It was a spotlight turning on. And suddenly all the whispers became reality. Caitlin Clark belongs here. She's not just the next big thing. She already is. And maybe that's what shook people the most. Not the shooting, not the score, but the fact that legends in the making, players who've built the very foundation of this league, looked at her and said, "Yeah, she's the real deal." Because once that line is crossed, there's no going back. She's not just the rookie anymore. She's a threat. And let's be honest, you can't coach that kind of dominance. You can't teach that level of respect. You have to earn it. Every point, every pass, every possession. Clark didn't ask for the league's validation. She took it by force, with focus, and without ever saying a word. That's what made this moment so powerful. Not that she won, not that she balled out, but that everyone watching, including her toughest opponents, felt it. And for the first time in in a long time. The league didn't just have a star, it had a new standard. Most great players leave a mark on the scoreboard. Caitlin Clark left a mark on the blueprint. She didn't just put up numbers, she tore the Liberty's entire identity apart, piece by piece. And by the end of the night, New York didn't just lose, they looked lost. Let's talk about the Liberty for a second. This isn't some shaky expansion team, they're a championship squad. Elite defenders, smart switches, top-tier coaching. They pride themselves on structure and control, but none of that mattered when Clark stepped on the court. Her impact? Immediate. From the first quarter, she began pulling defenders out of position, not with brute force, not with athleticism, but with gravity. She'd take one step toward the three-point line, and the entire Liberty defense would lean her way, hesitate, shift, pause. That half second, that's all she needed. Suddenly, cutters were wide open, help defense was late, and shooters were drilling uncontested threes. Clark wasn't just scoring, she was orchestrating chaos. Every possession became a problem for the Liberty. They tried switching. She exploited the mismatch. They tried going under screens. She pulled up from 35 feet. They sent double teams. She slipped out and found the open teammate. She had an answer for everything. And when a defense runs out of answers, that's not just dominance, that's demolition. At one point, you could see it in the Liberty's body language. They weren't just trailing, they were chasing ghosts. Every time they thought they had her contained, she made a move they didn't prepare for. Every time they thought they'd recovered, she punished them for being 1 second too slow. That kind of mental pressure, it wears teams down. The stats back it up. Indiana dropped 102 points, 53 of those before halftime. The Liberty gave up 17 made threes. That's not just bad defense, that's a systemic breakdown. And every collapse started with the same trigger, Caitlin Clark, touching the ball. Even when she didn't score, she forced rotations. Even when she passed, she warped the spacing. You can't measure that on a box score, but coaches feel it, defenders feel it, and teammates feed on it. Suddenly, Indiana looked like an entirely different team, confident, fast, aggressive, because their floor general was back and in complete control. It got to the point where New York started guessing, overhelping, overcorrecting, trying anything to slow her down. But when your defensive principles start breaking down, you're not playing basketball anymore, you're surviving. And championship teams don't survive, they dictate. Unless someone like Clark takes that control away, by the fourth quarter, the Liberty weren't just behind, they were broken. Not by brute force, not by size or speed, but by one player who turned the court into a chessboard and played them like pawns. After a tough loss, most coaches reach for the same playbook. Talk about effort, blame execution, mention a few missed calls, say, we'll bounce back and move on. But Liberty head coach Sandy Brondello, she didn't bother with any of that. She stood in front of reporters, looked straight into the camera, and said what everyone already knew. They made shots. We didn't. They executed better. They punished us. That may sound simple, but coming from a championship-level coach, it was huge. Because Sandy Brondello isn't just anyone. She's one of the most respected minds in the game. She's coached all-stars, won titles, built systems that break opponents, and yet she had no answers for what Caitlin Clark just did to her team. When a coach like that stops talking about strategy and starts talking about reality, you know it was bad. She didn't throw her players under the bus. She didn't sugarcoat it either. She just told the truth. We got outplayed. No spin, no fake optimism, and most importantly, no denial. Because sometimes a player comes along who doesn't just beat you, they expose you. That's what Clark did, and Sandy knew it. You could hear it in her tone. This wasn't frustration, it was respect, a kind of professional recognition, like we did what we could and it wasn't enough. That's not something you hear from championship teams often, but it's what makes this moment so real. Because when the players and the coaches are saying the same thing, there's no debate left. Clark didn't win by catching them off guard. She didn't win because New York had a bad shooting night. She won because she was better, and even the Liberty's head coach admitted it. That's what separates this performance from just another big night. This wasn't hype, it was undeniable. The Fever put up 53 points in the first half, 102 overall. Liberty's elite defense evaporated. Clark alone had 32, but her gravity meant her teammates cooked too. Every time she touched the ball, the defense bent. And every time they bent, someone was wide open. Liberty shot 20% from deep. Fever, 17 made threes. Fast break points, Fever had 19. Clark's fingerprints were everywhere, directly and indirectly. This was bigger than a game. This was a warning shot to the rest of the league. When Caitlin Clark is healthy, Indiana Fever is not an underdog. They're a problem. The Liberty walked in thinking they were title favorites. They walked out wondering if they're even the best team anymore. That's power. Sabrina and Stewart aren't just WNBA stars. They've represented the U.S. on the biggest stages. They've faced the best the world has to offer. And their respect for Clark, wasn't casual. They weren't just being politically correct, they meant it. That kind of praise carries weight. They've played against legends. They know what elite looks like, and what they saw in Clark was elite. What makes her terrifying isn't just the scoring, it's what she does to everyone around her. She forces double teams from 35 feet out. She collapses defenses before they even get set. Her teammates, who struggled without her, suddenly looked like snipers again, because she makes everyone better. That's generational. Stewart even admitted it. We've got to look in the mirror. This wasn't about schemes or bad bounces. It was deeper. Clark forced them out of their comfort zone. Even with all their talent, the Liberty couldn't adjust. That's how you shake a dynasty. You don't just beat them on the scoreboard. You make them question who they are. And Caitlin Clark did that. We talk a lot about hype, about potential, about promise. But some nights, you just know. This was one of those nights. The way the Liberty played, the way they spoke, the way Clark handled it all. She didn't gloat, she didn't flex. She just played and forced everyone else to talk about it. That's legacy stuff. And in that post-game silence, with microphones picking up the raw honesty of champions who had just been humbled, a new message emerged. Caitlin Clark isn't just the future of the WNBA, she's the now. If you made it this far, you know this wasn't just a regular highlight night. It was a moment the league won't forget. What do you think? Was this Caitlin Clark's greatest game yet? And do you think this shifts the balance of power in the WNBA? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more high-level WNBA breakdowns just like this. Because trust us, the Caitlin Clark era has only just begun.